I'm Miss Jones. I'm the principal of HHS, and I just really want to appreciate you for being here tonight. We know we're all busy and kids running amok and sports and all that good stuff. So thank you for coming. And it's kind of cool actually that we have, a small amount because we can really personalize. You can ask those questions that maybe you wouldn't feel comfortable in a larger seating. Additionally, I have my amazing partner, Mr. Manriquez. Mr. Manriquez, you want to?
Yes, hi there. I'm Mr. Manriquez. I am the assistant principal, and I work together with our principal, Miss Amy Jones. And just very excited, very proud to be serving Healdsburg High School, Healdsburg District. Very special place to be, and can't wait for all the great things that we're working on. Thank you for being here tonight.
Yes. And additionally, we have our wonderful counseling team. Hi, Mr. Ephraim. That's Mr. Ephraim's our math teacher. He's also our cross-country coach, so he's doing a little activity with the students. But Miss Mace, they're helping a few people. So we have Miss Mace as one of our academic counselors. Give them 1 minute. They're helping parents. Miss Mace, Miss Kelly Mace, and Mr. Flores is also a school counselor, and he's simultaneously translating for some of our parents. Everett, do you want to come up here so we can see you? Okay. Okay. All right.
Great. So if you look at the screen, our two counselors, they serve the families and students that are listed here by alphabetical order. So Ms. Mace serves the students and families with A through K, and Mr. Flores there serves students with last names O through Z. Both of their emails and contact information is here for you in case you need it. I'm sure afterwards, if you have a specific question, they're happy to answer any questions you may have in person.
And also, really, the goal of tonight is to have you really feel comfortable with the four-year process. We'll have freshmen. Freshmen are amazing. We're really loving the freshmen and the energy. And just so that you really feel comfortable and know all of the resources and things that we have to offer and who to go to when you need support or have questions. So tonight, we're going over all that. It's going to be a lot of information, but you can always make an appointment with myself, Mr. Manriquez, or a counselor.
You have the slide?
I do. Okay, here we go. Let me get the eyes going on this. Let's see. So class of 2026, you all have a student that's graduated in 2026, which is very exciting. How credits are earned? There are 10 credits per class. So each semester they earn 5 credits, and in semester 2, they earn additional 5 credits. Students can earn 35 credits each year. Each semester. So a total of 70 credits for semester 1 and semester 2. The courses that your child or children need to be taking, English is 40 credits, so that's 4 years. Every single year they have to take English. We also have math. Our requirement for graduation at HHS is 3 years of math, 30 units, credits. Science, 30 credits. Social studies or history, 30. Physical education, 20, so they have 2 years of that. Visual and performing arts, 10 credits. Career tech CTE courses, so that's the auto class, it could be the video production class, to name a few. That's additionally 10 credits. Language other than English is 20 credits, so they have to take 2 years. And as you know, here at HHS, we offer Spanish. Spanish is the course that we offer, and there are other avenues for students to access the languages if another child is interested. But here on site, we have 2 professores, and they're amazing. Freshman Compass Avenue, that is a new course that is here this year, and that additionally is 5 credits. Ethnic Studies additionally is a new course here for our freshmen, 5 credits. Junior Seminar, this is a year long, that's 10 credits, and that's where students participate in their internships. So it's a wonderful year. They get to get out in the community. And electives for a total of 30. So 240 credits. So our graduation requirements are higher than the state standard. So know that. And we're proud of that because we feel that students really need to encompass and do all these things to really be well-rounded young scholars going out into the world. Additionally, you see at the bottom, 40 hours of community service. So those are also hours that our students need to do as well. And it's part of our graduation requirements. Did I miss anything, Ms. Mace? She's the expert.
That was a lot of information. So yes, I think you covered it. And we are going to go into this in more detail. And we've already been into your into the freshman compass and have a guide class. to go over this with your students, and we did give them a bit more detail. Hopefully, I know they went right home and talked to you all about it, right? I'm sure. I'm sure that's what happened, but we, did we go over if we're gonna have questions at the end? Because we might have questions.
Yeah, I think we have a small enough group. If you do have a question, just raise your hand and we can jump right in and help you.
And if you
Any
don't,
questions? Anybody brave enough right now?
and if you don't, I'm gonna go right to something else, but yes, question.
Oh, a question, yes.
That is a great question, and I'm gonna repeat the question because you need to know what he asked, and we have people here who have headsets, but also in case you can't hear in the back. The question is, how do students, like, how does the student let us know that they've done their community service? That's an excellent question, right? Because you can't just, like, this is the example we use with students all the time. A community service it's not just working for free. You can't go to Big John's and be like, man, I feel like giving back to my community today, and I'm gonna put carts away and not get paid for it, and then that's community service, right? Right, Miss Mason? No, sadly, it's not. So there is an official form. It is available on our school website. It's also available in the counseling office, and you have to do it at a nonprofit organization. There are a few for-profit organizations that we have approved. One is like the Hillsborough Community Senior Center. So a small handful of places that you can do your hours. But there's an official form where you track your hours, your supervisor signs it, your school counselor signs it, your parent signs it. So you do have to fill it out on the official form. It's a great question.
I think also some advice that we give to students is do something you're passionate about, do something where you feel like you can make a difference, something you're very interested in, and something that also colleges and universities really look at is a student that continues with that passion and continues to volunteer with that service. So that's just a recommendation, but sometimes a student might for a year do something and you want to change it, and that's totally fine. But if you do find your niche, stick with it.
Excellent advice. Do you have any other questions about the graduation requirements? And we went through that really quick. I'm going to complicate things. Mr. Manriquez, move us forward. Matt, pop quiz time. Let's get the floors, but go ahead and transition. How many years of math are your students required to complete to graduate from Hillsborough High School? You remember that. He knows. He can write into the presentation. How many? Put your hands in the air. How many years is it? Is it 3? Is it 2? Is it 3? It's 3. All right. So we're going to get a little bit more specific because it's not just 3 years of any old math. It's very specific for Hillsborough High School. And regardless of where you are in the state of California, you do have to complete algebra or integrated math 1, formerly known as algebra. That is a state requirement. It doesn't matter where you go to school, here, Beverly Hills, doesn't matter, doesn't matter, wherever you are completing algebra 1 or IM1. Also, for Hillsborough High School, you have to complete IM2, formerly known as geometry. So that is the first 2 classes that you are required to complete. You then need a 3rd year of an additional math. This is if your student started in freshman year taking IM1, right? So you would take IM1, you would move on to IM2. After that, you have some options for how you can complete your 3rd year. Now, if your student started at a different level of math, we do have a math class that's not listed here. That is basically pre-algebra, pre-integrated math 1. That does count as the additional 3rd year. So that would be prior to IM1. Some students are in that math class. And then if your student took IM1 at the junior high, that is amazing, awesome. They still have to take 3 years of math. You met the state requirement, like, yeah, good on you. But what it does is it just means that you get to start off at just the next step, the next level. So if you're in IM2, great, you're moving on, and then you have choices after IM2, right? And there's 2 different tracks. I call it the gateway math, right? So after IM2, you have the gateway to different options available to you. So if you are currently in IM2, you will be choosing between statistics,
and your IM3 for your second year of math. After that, then there's additional choices. And we even have another math class that's not up there, that is computer science A, that can act as the third year of math as well. Lots of options here at Healdsburg High School. Any questions about math? You guys are great being 3 years. Great question. So if a student is currently in IM2, before you had to go to IM3. That was that gateway, and there wasn't any other way. So you see in the CSU system, it's a public university system in the state of California. You see University of California, CSU, California State University have made a change to the requirements, and we'll get to that on the next slide a little bit about college. So now statistics can be taken after IM2. And then financial algebra would be your third, could potentially be your third choice. So it gets complicated, right? So you can start in IM2, you can take IM3, and then you can go on, and then what we're now going to call it the calculus pathway. So if your end goal is calculus, you're thinking IM2, IM3, pre-calc, honors pre-calc, AP calculus, right? That's your end goal is calculus. Maybe that's not your end goal. Your IM2, you can go into statistics or stats, right? From stats, you can go any direction you want. You can go to IM3 and then to pre-calculus and calculus, maybe, I don't know, even take 2 math classes in here, like this crazy person right here, but I'm not recommending that. You know, you can take statistics and financial algebra. Do you have 3 years? You went IM2, statistics, financial algebra. You do. You graduate, you pass go, right? You do all the things. You're also AG eligible, which is what we're going to talk about a little bit next. And then let's say you do IM2, statistics, computer science. Are you going to graduate? So lots of options. So we do here at Healdsburg High School, we do lots of different options. Computer science A is in that. And does that answer your question first? Yeah. Excellent. Next question. Yes. Excellent question. The question is, yeah, how, with all of the options that we have here at Healdsburg High School, how do we support students? I'm going to paraphrase. How do we support students in making such an overwhelming choice? Right? There's choices, there's a lot of options. It can be overwhelming. That answer, does that not answer? Does that encapsulate your question? It's a great question. So we've already gone into classes, talked to your students about the graduation requirements, as well as a little bit of the college requirements. We will go in again after the first semester, and then we'll create academic plans. So we use a program called Naviance that works with areas to create academic plans. So that's the first step. You gotta have credits. And when do you earn credits? At the pop quiz. Oh, you didn't know you were gonna get tested. That's okay. I should warn you next time. When do freshmen have credits? Huh? Ding, 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 after the first semester. So it's really hard to sort of start a plan before you have credits, right? Because the grades and the credits, they help with that planning. And then we do start with course selections. That is done in a group setting. So we do, and we walk around and we help students. We take an entire very long block period to go over that. And then there's a parent component where you can approve your child selections. We're available to students to help one-on-one. I wish that we had the luxury of being able to sit down with every single student, even though we are a tiny school and we have a small caseload. That is still very difficult to meet one-on-one with all 500 and some students. But that is, we do all of those things to help with making this. We also get information, and I will get your question for sure. We also take information and recommendations from parents, grades, test scores, right? But we are in an open enrollment school. So if you came to me tomorrow and said, Ms. Mace, my child is prepared and ready to tackle AP calculus next year as a sophomore, your sequence, that's great, but we're just gonna do, I would probably try to talk you out of it, but you know, we're an open enrollment school. So at the end of the day, the students do have the option of making the choice and what they're going to take in the next year. So,
And of course,
well.
if a child is confused or needs more support, that they can always make an appointment to meet with their counselor, like yeah. So, and a lot of students do that, they access.
And parents as well. Great questions. And there's another question. Did that answer your question? Okay. Another question. Excellent question. So she's asking how we, if we identify students ahead of time and if we embarrass children sometimes, no, because, you know, it can be embarrassing, it can be difficult if you are not eligible to sign up. So that's part of being an open enrollment school means that we don't have barriers to any classroom. So regardless of your grades, regardless of your test scores, regardless of your teacher, counselor, and sometimes even parent recommendation, if a student is adamant that they want to challenge themselves, we are here to provide those challenges for them. So we do not have any sort of prerequisite to take any of our advanced courses or even non-advanced courses. That's what open enrollment means. And we do go into classes and we have them create their own academic plan, and they see that, and that's done in a group setting, but their individual questions are handled as privately as possible, or can be put on hold to be done in a one-on-one setting. And those are two different things. The academic plan part, which is what is done on audience, and those are two different like what we call classroom guidance lessons. So the one happens after the first semester where they have grades, and then it populates in audience and they have credits. And then the next part that we go in is where they actually picking their classes, right? And that's when they do the course selections, and they'll have it at their parent information night. There'll be a time for you to, you know, goes home so that parents can say, yes, I agree with my parents' my students' choices. You should all agree with your own choices, I hope. And then of course, and this data is all collected, hopefully, before the end of January. The new pop quiz question. Do you have the end of spring semester grades in January? Do we have the grades that are going to come out in June and January? No, right? So a lot of this we have to do based on good faith and like, yes, we know you're going to pass. Does every student pass? No. Do we identify those students? Yes, we do work on identifying those students so that we can provide supports and interventions, and we're doing even better at that than we have in the past. We're working on doing that so that we are providing the supports to help students pass, because that's our goal. We want you to pass. We want you to move on to your next class. But some of that you cannot do until you have the final grades, which is why we do a lot of that in the summer as well.
And additionally, with each new semester, students have 3 weeks to adjust their schedule. Let's say they're in a course and it, you know, it wasn't working, or it wasn't what they thought or whatnot, and they're able to, they can put in for a schedule change and meet with the counselor to do that. So that's also an option.
Do we only get 3 weeks, Ms. Jones?
Well, now there's also grade level change, and that's another, yeah.
So, because do you have enough time in 3 weeks to identify if that challenging class that you decided on? So next year, your students will be taking world history. That's the first, like, the first history class that students take at Hillsborough High School. That counts towards the state required graduation requirements. We offer AP World History as well as World History. We always recommend to students start in the more challenging class. Give yourself 6 weeks to see if you can handle the workload, if you can handle the commitment, the additional time, the faster pace. How it goes, because 3 weeks is not enough time to make an informed decision. So we always recommend to students and to parents, start off at that higher level. If you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling like, no, this is not the right level for me, then you have those 6 weeks to make a change. So. And we help with questions. It's complicated, but we help. Try. It's very complicated. Excellent questions. Any other questions about graduation requirements before we move on and complicate things further? So this again, this is to graduate with a high school diploma from Hillsborough High School. Those are the minimum requirements for the requirements. So now another question, yes. No apologies.
I will make confidence for so they
It's an excellent question. So the question is, for students who have an individual education plan or an IEP, for students with disabilities on a 504 plan, if they are required to take certain support classes, how do we identify those students? And if we are going into classes and allowing students to pick classes if we already know that they are not able to fit those in their 7-period day because they have additional support classes they are required to take. Does that cover the question? Yes. So here at Hillsborough High School and at every school, there are students with disabilities. There is only one class that is required for students with disabilities, and students who are on an IEP are required to be in directed studies. That is the only class that you are legally required to take if you have an IEP. Students with a 504, students who are required, are not required to take any classes. In fact, it's a big difference between those two programs. Students who are required to have English language development support are required. That's ELD, currently known as ELD. They are strongly recommended, and the state tells us that we have to provide support for those students. And Mr. Menriquez, do you want to cover, because there, the option that there is an option, but it is strongly recommended, not only by our district, but the state, to support those students in developing their language supports. But there are no other required classes that students have to take for students with disabilities, students who are English language learners, other than directed studies. But we have a lot of we have a lot of graduation requirements, and we do offer like a math support class that is, again, strongly recommended, not required necessarily for students. So, it's hard, you only have 7 periods. We'll go over this again because we'll have another information night when it's time to take your classes, time for students to take classes. But to be very clear, there's only one class. Parents, students, we're all in this together. If you feel strongly that your student is not necessary to have that support class,
that they were maybe recommended for, I mean it when I say we are in an open enrollment school. If you came to me tomorrow again, I would say, are you sure your child's ready for calculus? Because, you know, maybe we should talk about that, come up with a plan. But there's only one class that you are required to take if you have an IEP and student with disabilities, and that is directed studies.
And additionally, the counselors work very closely with our special education teachers to help all those students too. So they work very closely to come.
We do our best to identify those students and to help support them, and also to give them as many opportunities to access the general education curriculum and all of our wonderful choices, so many choices here at Healdsburg High School as possible, while also trying to help them reach their goals. And we hope that all of you and all of your students have the goal first and foremost to graduate from Healdsburg High School with a diploma. Yes, and then there's additional goals you might have on top of that, right? To be what we call A through G eligible, and that is to be eligible to apply directly to a four-year college as a senior. But before we move on to that slide, did that answer all of your questions again? We only talked about how to earn a diploma. It gets more complicated. It wasn't complicated enough, but did that answer all of the questions? Hopefully, somewhat. Okay, excellent. So now, move on. So the recipe for how to make a college student. So what this is what we call the A through G's. Refers to the different subjects A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. These are the minimum requirements to be eligible to apply to a four-year university in the state of California. Again, that is the University of California system, the California State University, UC, and CSU. These are their minimum requirements. And we just put it in a recipe so that change it up a little bit. So how do you, make a college student or a student who's eligible to apply in their senior year? And then the requirements are a little different than our Healdsburg High School requirements. In some places, we require more, believe it or not. But there's one major difference in when you're, baking a college student. Does anybody know what the big difference is between earning credits towards a diploma and how you become eligible to apply to a four-year university? Ooh, we have a guess. It's language, big difference. I'm gonna tell you right now, normally for the students, when I ask a question or give them a pop quiz, we have the answers up there. In this instance, it is not there. So it's not on the screen. There's a big difference. It has to do with earning credits and what colleges give you credit for versus what the high school gives you credit for. Also has to do with what just ended last week. Does anybody know? You guys should have got something in the mail. Whoa. The first progress reporting period. Did you guys, what did you get in the mail or notification? I'm just sending out in your mail, right? Mail. What did you get? Grades, report card, progress report. That's the big difference. Okay, so in order for a CSU or a UC to give you credit to say that it counts, you have to have a grade of C- or better in all of your A through G classes. So all of these categories, you need a C- or better. That is the big difference. What is the minimum grade to earn credits towards your diploma? Extra credit. Does anybody know? It's a D. I always tell students it's a D-. If you get a D- in every single class that you take at Healdsburg High School, you will earn your diploma. You will also be a purple unicorn because that just doesn't happen. This does not exist. I've never seen it not once to this. Oh, sorry, Mr. Cameron. I come up with lots of things. He's used to it. Poor guy. But you would you would still earn your diplomas. With D minus, you get credit towards high school graduation. However, CSUs, UCs, right, most four-year universities, no, they're not going to give you credit. They're not going to let it count towards being eligible to apply. You would be unbanked, right? You would not be ready to apply. The ingredients would not be fulfilled unless you had a C minus or better, right? So the categories, A refers to history or social science. This is one of the categories where we actually require, it's a state requirement, more to graduate than colleges. So colleges, you need 2 years, world history and US history. There's a third year that you must have to earn a diploma. And do you think colleges want you to have a diploma? They would prefer that you have a diploma. So yes, you are gonna be taking civics and economics as well. And those can count as your college prep elective, the G there. So there's 2 years of history, 4 years of English, same. So same as the high school graduation. However, every semester, you need to have that grade of C minus or better. So that's every single semester, grades in December, as well as your grade in June, C minus or better. Again, the 3 teaspoons of math. This was, commonly known as algebra, geometry, algebra 2. That has changed now. Both UCs and CSUs, as we talked about a little bit before, you can do algebra, geometry, statistics, IM1, IM2 statistics, or you can do the calculus path, which is IM1, IM2, IM3, calculus, okay? So you do have to take a different sequence in math to be A through G eligible or eligible to apply to a four-year college. So you are required to take and pass statistics or IM3 with C or better in your spring semester, C minus or better in your spring semester. So if you do choose to take IM1, IM2, financial algebra, you would not be what we call A through G eligible, which means you're not eligible to apply directly to a four-year university in your senior year. You would still have other options available to you, like going to a California community college and transferring. Okay, 2 shakes of science. What? That's 2 years of lab science. Does anybody remember how many years you're required to graduate from Hillsborough High School? It's not the same. You think it's more? She's right. It's 3 years of science, right? So your students are going to have more than the minimum if they get grades of C minus or better, which why this is a benefit to all of you and to your students. Freshman year can be a challenge. It's a big transition coming out of COVID, but even without all of that, right? Just making that transition from junior high, from middle school, from wherever school you went to high school with all these overwhelming choices, you might not get a C minus in both semesters in your science class, right? Well, don't worry. You have a third year of science that you can use to still be A through G eligible. So that'll be your junior year where you'll take that third year of science. Language other than English. So language other than English is actually the same for A through G eligibility or college eligibility, as well as Hillsborough High School. You must have 2 years or pass a level 2 language class in order to graduate from Hillsborough High School, as well as being eligible to go directly to a four-year college. Now, are you going to get into UC Berkeley, UCLA, Cal Poly SLO with 2 years of a language other than English? I see people shaking their heads. It's highly unlikely that very what we call selective colleges you're going to be eligible or be accepted with the minimum. Again, these are the minimums, right? A lot of them want 4 years of everything. So we strongly recommend that students go on and get a third year in Spanish, which is the language we offer here, and then even go on further than that, as Ms. Jones said earlier, showing that you have an interest in something and continuing on. That demonstrates to colleges that you you know, have a passion in something or that you just stick with it. So a 4th year of Spanish, and then you can also earn the state seal of literacy. We all know students, I mean, who doesn't love swag, right? Having a little extra swag at graduation, being able to have cords that you earn state seal by literacy, you can put it on a resume. It's a great thing. You do have to have taken the equivalence of 4 years of a language other than English. What we offer here is Spanish. So that's either Spanish 4, that's AP Spanish. Passing the AP Spanish exam is also equivalent to a level 4 language other than English. It's terrible. The other requirement is that you must take 1 year of a college prep visual performing arts class, and that is required to be A through G eligible. Good news is that all of our visual performing arts classes here at Hillsburg High School are college prep. So any art class that your student takes, any of the 4 years in Hillsburg High School is going to help them meet that requirement as long as they earn grades of C- or better in both semesters. Now, does anyone know there's one class that's a very popular class, and I don't believe any freshmen got into it this year. So many of your students are going to be wanting to take this class next year. It's a very popular class, and it has art in the title. Does anybody know what it is? Culinary arts. This is where it gets very confusing. Culinary arts, does this fulfill your visual and performing arts requirement for college eligibility? No. No. I know, Mrs. Chef, of course, gets very mad, very upset because it's an art, and it is an art. Mr. Flores would agree, it is an art form. However, it is not considered a visual or performing art by universities. And it is also not considered a visual or performing art for graduation. It fulfills a different graduation requirement called career technical education. So that's a big difference. And then again, you have that additional college prep elective. That's anything above and beyond any of those categories. So your 3rd year of science, your 3rd year of math, your 4th year of Spanish, right? Any of those things, as well as both semesters of college and career seminar. Junior seminar can help fulfill that at 12. AP semester, we have all the options and the choices here at Hillsburg High School to help your students fulfill their A through G requirements. So, and one thing that we're very proud of, we crunch numbers all in the county, and Hillsburg High has the highest A through G rate in the county. So we're very, very, very proud of that. We will take that. It takes a lot of hard work. So your students are in good hands. So, and these are the requirements in terms of grades. Students have to apply. There's no other additional requirements at this time to apply to a four-year university in the state of California. So no tests, none of that. Yes. Any questions? Yes, I thought there might be. Just like the SATs. College entrance exams are no longer required and in fact not used in state of California. None. Yeah. Cause for celebration a little bit. 18, I'm gonna blow your minds a little bit, right? 1,800 colleges across the entire United States have gone test optional. So it is not required. There's one school that is requiring college entrance exams, and it's in Massachusetts. It's called MIT. You may have heard of it. I don't know. They're one, and they're the only school that is requiring it for admission. So any other questions about college before we transition to Aries and Google Classroom? Excellent question. The question is, if it's optional in terms of college entrance exams, do they look at it differently? So it's different. I cannot speak for every single state or 1,800 plus schools. I will speak to the state of California because they are test blind. So they cannot look at it. It cannot be used for admissions purposes. So CSUs and UCs cannot use the data for admissions purposes. It can be used for placement. It can be used to fulfill an A through G requirement, but it cannot be used for admission. How other schools look at it, it's optional. So it's an optional piece of data that you can give to like create that well-rounded picture of a learner. So it's optional. Other questions? Excellent question. So the question is, if they take the exams, can they opt to not send poor scores? Or is the data just out there for anyone to look at? Yes, is that your question? So that's a great question. So your student is the owner of all of their test scores. So when they sign up to take an exam, they get to say who gets that information in terms of outside agencies, right, beyond College Board or ACT. So you have to actually pay money to send those scores places. So you get to decide whether or not you send any score to any school. They don't just get it automatically. You have to give them permission by sending it to them. It's only free when you sit and take the exam, of course, before you know your scores. However, I have yet to meet, and Mr. Flores will back me up on this, we have yet to meet a college admissions officer who has said, oh man, those scores, why did that kid send those scores? That was the reason we didn't accept them to our university. We don't tell you that, right? Which makes it awful, right? So it seems you'd want to know why. Why did my student not get in to this college? You don't get any of that information. However, colleges and every single admission officer that we talk to has told us they take every single piece of information you do share and use it because they're looking for ways to admit your children. They want to say yes to your students. They want to say yes to your California dollars that you could bring to their school. Believe me, they want to find a way to admit your student. I know it doesn't feel that way, and you're like, oh, you don't know that. That's, but that is what they tell us over and over and over again, is that they are looking for ways to admit, not looking for ways to deny. So if your student does want to take the exam and they score, it's another piece of information to sift. There's no good information, bad information, it's just information. Does that answer your question? Excellent question. Any other additional questions? And again, this is not your only opportunity to ask questions. We are available. I'll give our contact information again. This is a complicated process. I swear the answer to every question about college is yes, no, maybe. So, it can feel a little overwhelming and feels that way to us as well. So, but if there's any other questions, now's a good time, or we're going to move on to Aries and Google Classroom with Mr. Manriquez.
Right. How many of you are familiar with Aries? Just so I kind of get an idea. Okay, for the most part. How about Google Classroom? A little bit less. Okay. So here at Hillsborough High School, we use Aries as our student information system. Our teachers use it to take attendance and submit grades. So those are really the two main functions of Aries. Our office uses it for other things, for student information systems and keeping other data. But for the most part, as parents, it's important for you to know that really Aries is going to be there for you to check your students' grades, to see how they're doing. Google Classroom is what we call a learning management system. This is more for teachers to upload documents, share information, share homework with the entire class, maybe communicate to the entire class, hey, I'm not going to be there. I'm going to have a sub on Monday. Please do the assigned homework on Google Classroom. Teachers can use it to grade and give feedback back to the students where they can give written feedback on an assignment. And the student can read that and then take it and then move forward. But Google Classroom is not what we use ultimately to submit grades. So you need to know as parents, although something might be or might not be graded in Google Classroom, the final destination is going to be Aries. That's really what you want to have your students check. And many of our students use their phones to look at Aries. They're pretty savvy. They get the app and they type in, you know, if I get 100% on this test, what will my grade be? And it calculates for them. And so they sit there playing with it and they do the math and they say, okay, I need this to get this, which ultimately helps them. So sometimes we see them on their phones and they're looking at Aries. They're seeing what, you know, what's going to happen if I do this or take this exam or retake this test. But those are the two main, you know, systems that our teachers use that we use for our students, for you. What I would say about Google Classroom is students can see and access the platform in a different way than you can. You can be added to Google Classroom by sharing your email with the teacher or having your student share that with the teacher, but you can't see what they see. You see just a snapshot, more like a summary of how they're doing in that class. If you really want to know what's going on with that class and the teacher uses Google Classroom extensively, I would have your student open up Google Classroom on their device and you just sit behind them and just scroll through and ask them to click on each class. That's really going to give you more access. The summaries they send you, they're not going to be super helpful. They're just kind of a snapshot of kind of how they're doing. We tell our teachers, please use Google Classroom or Google Sites or some form of online learning management system so that they can communicate with their students. Our goal is to have every single teacher use it. That's not the case currently right now. Some teachers use a Google Sites. Some teachers use their own website for different classes. So eventually our goal is to have everybody consistent so that students know, you know, that we're all using the same platforms. Any questions on Aries or Google Classroom?
I just want to emphasize also in Aries, you can check absences and tardies. Please do that because we are on them. We're trying to teach them life skills to be on time. And so you can check those students as you might know or not know. Once they have 4 tardies, they have a detention. So they can earn a detention in one day if they're late to first, third, fourth, and then another one, they can get a detention. So be on them, please check. We can really use your support, making sure that our students are being responsible.
Yes, and we run reports daily to see how students are doing because every single day we have, you know, multiple periods that are happening and we need to check to see if they were tardy or not. So we go on Aries, we pull reports and queries on our own and we can see who has how many tardies.
I think so.
I believe if you log in and it takes a few clicks, I had a parent do it the other day and she showed me, it took her some more clicks than to figure it out.
Hope everyone heard that question, yes?
The question was, can parents in fact see tardies in Aries? Yes, you can.
Right, yeah.
In the column, click on there. And I also want to emphasize with checking on your students' grades, grades that just came out are not permanent grades. They are in today where their students are at. The permanent grades that go on their report cards are actually at the end of the semester. So please keep on them. I have more students than I wish have D's and F's in courses. And it's like, if any of your children are in that predicament, kick them in gear, please, because it's really hard once you get behind to get your grades up. So please be that awesome partner and make sure that your children are in fact keeping their grades up to the best of their ability.
Yes, and just ask, really just ask us. Don't just ask your students and we can, we can look it up for you.
Good question. Repeat the question. Good question.
So the question was, in Aries, once it shows in there as not being in there, it would have already been graded. Is that the question, right? Did I say it right? Yes.
So if the teacher has completed grading that assignment, usually what happens is the teacher can enter a 0, right? For that assignment, or sometimes you might see a red mark, which means they just didn't do the assignment. I would ask the teacher if you're not sure. That's really our best advice to you is just email the teacher and say, can you tell me more about this assignment that's showing up as a 0? Does that mean that they didn't do the assignment, or does that mean that they literally got a 0 on the assignment?
There are different categories. Good.
Yes, the comment was, I thought that you could see if the teacher has completed grading the assignment or not, and I believe you can see in Aries, it should say completed, right?
In gradebook, there's categories. So, and one is if grading is complete or
And
not.
if you have any concerns or questions, I urge you to meet with teachers. Please have appointments with them if you have questions. They're here. That's a piece of their jobs and duties and responsibilities to communicate with families. So if you are unclear about something, make an appointment. If you're unclear about a grade, email them, communicate. Email is the best avenue for teachers for communication. If ever you feel like you're not, someone's not replying back to you, please let me know.
Good questions.
Yes.
The question was, when students are sick, do they have an opportunity to make up work? So if a child is sick and their absence has been cleared as an excused absence, they do have time to make it up. So it depends on the circumstance. If a student, just says, hey, I didn't come to school this day and I don't have a reason, that's a little bit different. But if it is an excused absence, they should have time to make it up. But I always tell them, if you're going to be out, or you're going to be out, or you are out, communicate with your teacher so that so that they know that you're on it and you want your work. Go into your Google Classroom, see what's being done, because every day that they're not there, they get behind. High school is a fast pace.
Did that answer your question? Yes. Another question?
I think we had.
They're together. Mhm. Mhm.
That is
Excellent.
correct. Okay, so the
Excellent
question was,
question.
how often do teachers grade their work? So this is a work in progress. We have instilled this year where they have to update their grades by the 15th of each month and by the end of the month. And so, like for an English teacher, they have all these essays, it might take a while, but we're really trying to make sure that our teachers are up it and on with and putting the grades. But it is true, and I have many parents and students saying all the time, my child said they did this work and they have an F. And it's not graded. That could be in fact true. So if you're unsure, I always urge you to communicate, email the child's teacher if you have any questions about that. But that does happen, and we're really pushing to make it better. I wish they could daily do it. Yes.
Mm.
Okay, so we just talked about sports and verifying grades because you do have to have your grades up. Mr. Rodriguez and I have a leadership meeting on Thursday, and we will again bring this up that parents really would like teachers to grade their papers and enter grades consistently. Is a push from parents so that they can verify. And we appreciate you for taking the time to make sure that your child's on it too. So thank you. Yeah.
Yes, I would say again, emailing the teacher is the best resource. They might have something we don't know about, but when I was teaching and I was doing grading and using Aries, I remember I had the option to say when I created the assignment created, let's say, I don't know, February 1st, and then assignment completed February 15th. That means for me as a teacher, it's my students could no longer turn it in for full credit after the 15th. And then I grade, you know, in a perfect world, I'm done grading it by the 15th. It's closed. I move on to the next one. And then it also would alert my students that that assignment has been completed for grading. So after that point, in my class at that time, if you could turn it in for, you know, most of the credit, but you would take a penalty at that time for whatever reason, unless you had an excuse that was justifiable. But I remember using grading in that sense. I hope that makes sense. But again, teachers are going to be your best resource. We're not always there, and they're really in the grade book themselves. So the question and really the suggestion is, would it be better to put or give a mark saying that the assignment wasn't or was graded, maybe to add more clarity? Is that kind of what you're going? Or in progress? Okay. Okay. Yeah. I think it's a great suggestion. I think we're limited to whatever Aries allows us to put in there. But again, when I remember working with Aries as a teacher, I would have the option to say this assignment closes on February 15th. So for me, you know, anything after that would be late. And I also told my students, this has been graded. And when I did that, I would get a bunch of students show up and say, oh, I got this, or I got a 0, you know, can you help me? Or there's a red mark, it's a missing assignment. It then would go into the missing assignments column and show up as one missing assignment, which is a lot of the times why they would come to my classroom at lunch and say, what's going on? I turned this in. Oh, you know what? It's right here. Let me put it in Aries. It was a mistake. Does that help a little bit? Okay. We can talk more after this.
Answer all your questions.
Okay, great. So these are a few platforms that we use here at Hillsborough High School to communicate, and I think most people have seen them. We have a Facebook for the high school, and I believe also the district. We also have an Instagram. If you just type in the search bars, you know, Hillsborough High School, you're going to have these come up. And many times we communicate with families through these platforms, just because we know that not everybody is using email, not everybody is perhaps using Instagram or Facebook. So we try to do the best to communicate through different platforms, because we know for some families, some are more accessible than others. We do have Parent Square, which is another form of communication where we're able to get some information and send it out to the masses of families. We can send it out to all freshman families, all, you know, class of 2025, for example, or a specific group that we know that we want to target. So you might have received these announcements earlier or even before school started. But again, I think the more platforms we have, the better for you. We do have regular mail as well. But you never know. We have newsletters on our website. We have parent copies that, you know, we've been holding since last year. So we try to do the best to try to get information to you, and at different times of the day as well for the parent copies.
Good question.
I would say let us know right away. You can let your student's counselor know. You can let us know. You can even let your teachers know. We have community liaison like SB Nunez, right? She can really help families connect, or if you're even having trouble figuring out what Aries is or what it does, or even Google Classroom, she can make an appointment with you and she can walk you through it. But you should be on the email list. If you're not, let us know.
How many of you is there anyone in here not getting Parent Square notifications? Okay, we've already been here an hour. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's see. High school after school tutoring. High school's hard, and we have these resources. Not all the students, of course, like to go to tutoring. You know, I get it, I understand, but guess what? We do have our teachers that are there to support them. So know that if your child is struggling, here you go. We have math tutoring, which is on Mondays and Wednesdays. From 4:10 to 5:10, it's in our library, it's here on campus, it's very accessible, as well as English tutoring on Mondays and Wednesdays, 4:10 to 5:10. So it's here, it's free, it's for them, and these are teachers giving their time and can help them.
Any questions? No, moving on. Oh,
Okay.
question.
Those are the only ones.
Excellent question.
Yes, that is a good question. Is there tutoring for all the other subjects? These have to be, it's voluntary for teachers, and currently right now, these are the two subject areas that we are providing. But I believe something's getting pushed out where there are resources that's free live tutoring that I think our district just pushed out for students to access. They can do that 24/7. So that's also a resource, but currently this is what we have.
There are also credentialed teachers, and if you're struggling in history, Mr. Linker or whatever the English teachers, they're there to help students from Healdsburg High School, regardless of the subject matter. Sorry, Mr. Flores. The question is,
The question was, are there any other teachers?
live.
Oh, there's a, I
library.
believe it was pushed out from on a district level. There's an online free live tutoring service that's free for high school students. So, I believe it was pushed out to families maybe last week or something,
Yes,
or it
and
might have been in the parent newsletter.
it's also available on the school, the
And it's
district
on our
and
school
school
website.
website.
You can access it there as well.
And many of our teachers actually open up their classrooms during lunch on their own time. You know, they could be eating lunch and having, you know, a great time with their colleagues, but many students ask them, can I come in at lunch? And they say, yes, come in. Many of the teachers will have their door open. There's kids in there working and eating, getting help during lunchtime, which they don't have to do that. They can be, you know, they could close their door and grade away. But their doors are open. There's kids in there, they're doing things, they're asking questions. So
Or before and after school.
Before and after school as well. All right, support services. We have a district mental health counselor here on site 3 days a week. So if your child needs a higher level support, we have that. We have restorative practices, working with students, acknowledging the impact of their actions and to take steps to put it right. So actually teaching them, you know, we're a partnership here. Kids make mistakes, but it's actually being, you know, we kind of sometimes are parenting them and teaching them, you know, on those levels too. So we do offer that. We do have our freshman compass course now, which is a course to prepare ninth graders to succeed in high school and set goals. And we also have our junior seminar classes offered by our faculty with curriculum designed to provide college career academic and emotional support for students. Any questions about that? Additionally, we have the counseling department. We feel very fortunate with 550 students that we have 2 full-time amazing counselors. So they work to support students in crisis situations, referred to the appropriate entity of support. They provide academic, college and career, and personal, social, and emotional counseling. Additionally, we have our parent outreach and education assistant, SB Nunez. She's amazing. We have her 3 days a week on campus. She can help parents with anything that they need. If a parent is in crisis, need help, housing, if you're in a crisis, your child needs glasses, we can't afford them, we can help you with that. Other supports, we also refer parents and students to outside resources all around for our families or students that need that as well. These are their names. These are here for you to reference when you need support. I just want to really appreciate you for coming today, and wholeheartedly, Mr. Rodriguez and I believe Hillsborough High is amazing. The things that we offer for our families and students and the staff that we have here, we cannot be more proud. So we thank you for being here. Anything that you need, we are here a lot. So anything that you need, any questions that you have, we are always here. So again, thank you for your time and thank you for being that educational partner for us.